the pride of the Sixth Fleet. U.S.S. Salem CA-139 was named after Salem, Massachusetts, and was the third United States Navy ship to bear the name Salem. When she was one of the 3 Des Moines-class heavy cruisers that was completed. Salem was ordered by the United States Navy on June 14th of 1943. Her keel was laid down on July 4th of 1945 at the Bethlehem Steel Company in Quincy. She was launched on March 25th of 1947, and she was sponsored by Miss Mary G. Coffey. She was commissioned at the Boston Navy Yard on May 14th of 1949 under the command of Captain John C. Daniel. Captain Daniel served as commanding officer until February 2nd of 1950, when command was transferred to Captain Edmund B. Taylor. The U.S.S. Salem CA-139 specifications. When it comes to her machinery, she has 4 General Electric geared turbines, 4 Babcock and Wilcox boilers, 615 psi to 850 F, rated at 120,000 standard horsepower or shaft horsepower, or 120,064 as measured during trials. She has 4 screws, a steam jet air conditioning plant, SSTG4, 1500 kilowatts. Diesel generators, she has 2 of them at 850 kilowatts. When it comes to her armament, the main battery, she has 8-inch guns, 55 caliber, and 3 triple turrets. Her gun barrels are Mk16 Mod 0. The muzzle velocity is 2,800 feet per second. The crew is 45 crewmen per turret. The weight of the one turret is 451 tons. The rate of fire is 10 rpg/pm, rounds per gun per minute. The projectiles are high-capacity, shore bombardment, 260 pounds, armor-piercing at 335 pounds. The range is 30,100 yards, AP, at 41 degrees, 31,350 yards, HC, at 45 degrees. It is worth noting that these guns were the first 8-inch guns to use cased or semi-fixed ammunition instead of the bag with the shell loading. They were also the world's first automatic 8-inch gun. These guns could be loaded at any elevation from -5 to +41 degrees. They were dual-purpose guns, AA and ASUW. The gun houses on all 3 turrets are quite spacious due to the fact that they were designed with room for installation of optical rangefinders, which were omitted from the final plans. When it comes to her secondary battery, she's got 5-inch guns, 38 caliber, and 6 dual mounts, Mk32. The gun barrel is the Mk12 Mod 1. The muzzle velocity is 2,500 feet per second, and each one has a crew of 12. Each one weighs approximately 33,000 pounds on the mount. The rate of fire is 12 rpg/pms. Projectiles are AA 7 pounds, and the range is 14,041 yards at 45 degrees, or 29,367 feet at 85 degrees. It's worth noting that these guns were dual-purpose weapons, AA and ASUW. Light anti-aircraft battery, the guns, the 3-inch 50 caliber and 11, originally 12, twin mounts. Both MAR 27 and 33 mounts are fitted. The gun barrel is a Mk22. Muzzle velocity is 2,650 feet per second, and each one has a crew of 12 on the mount. Each one weighs approximately 33,000 pounds on the mount. The rate of fire is 50 rpg/pms. The approximate life is 4,300 shells, and the range is 14,600 yards at 43 degrees, or 29,800 feet at 80 degrees. It is also worth noting that the Mount 31 was removed from all three ships of the class in 1955 due to the excessive damage to the mounts and the loss of the mounts in heavy seas. These ships were originally built with 6 dual 20mm gun mounts, which were removed at the time the ships were commissioned. The 2 gun directors for the 20mm guns, type were unknown, were located on pedestal beams of the forward Mark 54 director. The 3-inch 50 caliber automatic gun was developed in response for kamikaze attacks on Allied warships during the later part of World War II. A kamikaze pilot basically turned the aircraft into a guided missile. Packed with explosives, it was vital that the aircraft be destroyed as far away from the target as possible. Deployed from previous 3-inch 3 and 50 into an automatic loading weapon, which was able to fire at a rate of 4 times faster than previous. When it comes to her firing control for the main battery, 2 Mark 54 with Mark 13 radar. The secondary battery is 4 Mark 37 GFCS with Mark 25 radar. The anti-aircraft battery, 4 Mark 56 GFCS with Mark 35 radar, and 2 Mark 63 GFCS with Mark 34 radar. Mark 63 for mounts 311 and 312 only. The radars, SG-6 air search, the SPS-8A height finding, and the SPS-12 air search. Turrets 2 and 3 were originally equipped with dual Mark 27 ranging radars, which were ultimately removed. No sonar equipment is aboard the ship. There are no ASW weapon systems, and originally designed for 4 float planes, 2 catapults aft with a hangar and hold, accessed by an elevator, the aircraft were obsolete by the time the ship was completed. Salem was never fitted with catapults. In service, she carried 1 utility helicopter. After training and shakedown cruises, which included so many trips to Guantanamo Bay that she earned the nickname Gitmo Express. Salem sailed for the Mediterranean on May 3rd of 1950, where she began her first tour as 6th Fleet flagship, when she received Newport News CA-139. She was relieved by Newport News on 22nd of September and returned to the United States to resupply and be repaired. On January 2nd of 1951, U.S.S. Salem's command was transferred to Captain Donald C. Varian, and on March 20th of 1951, she once again sailed for the Mediterranean, where she relieved Newport News as a 6th Fleet flagship. It was during the second tour in the Mediterranean where she was christened Pride of the Fleet. When she received the Fleet Battle Readiness Pennant for being the best overall in battle readiness competition, U.S. Atlantic Fleet on September 19th. She was relieved by Des Moines CA-134 and returned to the United States for 4 months of overhaul at Boston. On the 9th of November 1951, Captain William K. Romoser became Salem's 4th commanding officer. Salem sailed on February 1st of 1952 for refresher training at the gunnery practice ranges at Guantanamo Bay. She returned to Boston on March 29th for brief repairs. And on April 10th, she once again sailed for the Mediterranean, where she relieved Newport News at Algiers on April 28th. She was relieved once again by Des Moines on the 29th of September and arrived at Boston on October 9th. On October 9th, 1952, Captain Ramosa turned over command to Captain Brooke Shum. 4 months of local operations, Salem sailed to Guantanamo Bay again on January 24th of 1953 for training. On January 28th, Captain Lyles W. Crichton assumed command of the ship. Returning to Boston on February 27th, she sailed for the Mediterranean on April 17th and again relieved Newport News as flagship. During this, her fourth Mediterranean deployment, she participated in the exercise Weldfest. In 1953, Salem was the first ship to arrive on the scene in the earthquake-ravaged Ionian Islands in Greece, where she spent the next 4 days providing relief, supplies, and humanitarian aid until her own supplies ran low. Her actions earned her the praise of the King and Queen of Greece. Relieved again by the Des Moines as flagship on October 9th, she returned to Boston on the 24th and entered the shipyard for overhaul. She left Boston on April 30th, and on arrival in the Mediterranean on May 12th, again assumed duties as the 6th Fleet flagship. On January 14th of 1955, Captain Crichton would turn over command of the ship to Captain Jack McGinnis, who took her on an annual cruise to Guantanamo Bay between January 19th and February 22nd. After a 2-week reserve training course, the Salem once again sailed for the Mediterranean on May 2nd. During this, her 6th deployment, she participated in the NATO exercises and the Franco-American naval exercise. The U.S.S. Salem departed Barcelona on September 23rd and returned to Boston October 2nd of 1955 for a 4-month overhaul. Captain Alan Roby assumed command on January 14th of 1956. She left Boston on February 16th of 1956 for a training at Guantanamo Bay in preparation for a 20-month cruise as permanent flagship for the Commander, 6th Fleet, with home port at Villefranche. While she was at sea, the Suez Crisis broke out, and she was diverted to the roads in the eastern Mediterranean, where she joined the fleet on May 14th and assumed her flagship duties. Captain Francis T. Williamson became her 9th commanding officer on February 15th of 1957. In spring of 1957, the U.S.S. Salem's turret No. 3 won the coveted Gold E for outstanding gun crews. Salem departed the Mediterranean on June 26 of 1958 and arrived in Norfolk on July 4th, scheduled for inactivation. The U.S.S. Salem received a short reprieve when the government of Lebanon requested assistance against the anticipated coup. Under the command of Captain James D. Ferguson, who assumed command on July 23rd of 1958, she relieved the U.S.S. Northampton, CLC-1, on August 11th as flagship of Commander of the 2nd Fleet. On September 2nd, she departed Norfolk, visited Augusta Bay and Barcelona during a 10-day cruise in the Mediterranean, and returned to Norfolk on September 30th. The U.S.S. Salem reported to the Norfolk Navy Yard on October 7 for inactivation, disembarked the commander of the 2nd Fleet on October 25th, and was decommissioned on January 30th of 1959, and was berthed at the Atlantic Reserve Fleet in Philadelphia. In October of 1994, Salem once again made her way north to her birthplace in Quincy, Massachusetts, where she is now the centerpiece of the United States Naval and Shipbuilding Museum. On May 14th of 1995, 46 years to the day since her original commission, the U.S.S. Salem was recommissioned, this time as a member of the Historic Naval Ships Association. She now serves her country once again with her new mission of teaching people of all generations our nation's rich history of shipbuilding and naval duty.